Huawei's MateBook models are one of the most popular upcoming laptops in the global market. And the fact is, living here in Canada, it's been very difficult to procure them for a number of economical and social reasons well beyond my control. Well, after much work, I was finally able to get my hands on one of the most popular models, the MateBook D15. And this configuration here is rocking Intel's 11th generation 1135 G7 i5 processor, 8 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. We also have a 512 gigabyte solid state drive on board. Additionally, it has Intel's integrated Iris Xe graphics. We have Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5 standards on board, and this is a 15-inch Full HD or 1080p display, and there's a lot to talk about this laptop. Now granted, I'm nearly a year late in this review, but like I said, it's difficult to procure, plus I think it's had plenty of time to mature, so we can actually make a very fair comparison against other mid-range laptops to see if the MateBook D15 is the one for you. Let's get started. Packaging is not a priority here given that this is a standard mid-range laptop. As such, you get a plain old cardboard box with a black print of the device and some basic branding. Once you remove the content seals located on either side of the box, it opens right up and the contents are pretty straightforward. First and foremost, of course, you have the laptop and a ton of protective packaging. Remove all of that and here you have the MateBook D15. More on that in a quick minute. Past that, you also have a USB-C charging cable, and of course, to go with that, you have a USB-C charging brick. This is great news because that means you essentially have the latest charging standard right out of the box. Take note, American competitors. Now, you also have a plastic pouch that presumably has a quick start guide, warranty, and regulation information. I'm not going to open it though. The MateBook D15 has a relatively similar design to a lot of the competition in the sense that you have a hybrid metal and plastic build. So for example, you'll notice it's got linear lines all over. It's a straightforward product, but you do have rounded edges. Also, that silver color nicely complements the entire body. Now, this laptop has an approximate weight of 3.3 pounds, making it one of the lighter 15-inch productivity laptops out there, which is usually a good thing. Now, as far as the top side goes, like I mentioned, you have a high quality metallic finish here. There's no texture. It's very smooth and plain to the touch. You do have Huawei's branding in the center, which has a premium mirror-like surface, and it just gives it a nice feel. The size of the laptop is where you will find the I/O ports, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a pretty bad situation. The only good thing here is the fact that you have a USB-C port that supports power delivery, which is of course how you charge the laptop, but no Thunderbolt with that. Additionally, you only have one USB-A 3.2 port and a HDMI 1.4B port. On the other side, you have two severely outdated USB 2.0 ports, and you have the good old headphone jack, no media card reader either. Things, like I said, are pretty dry here, and even by 2021 standards, I'm a little disappointed. The bottom of the laptop has a standard hard TPU finish. You'll notice there's a couple rubber grips to keep the laptop in place, but you do have a rather narrow, long air intake vent, which just concerned me a little bit from a thermal perspective. Now, you'll notice on either side, you do have a speaker grill indicating this is a bottom-firing dual speaker setup, and not a whole lot more to see beyond that. As soon as you unfold this laptop, you gain an appreciation for the amount of palm rest space you have available. However, you do have a plastic inner chassis versus a lot of the competition that's moved over to metallic finishes. Now, the trackpad is a hit and miss kind of story. So for example, you have a generous amount of surf real estate space. You'll also appreciate the fact that the clicks are very tactile and there's practically no flex on this trackpad despite having a plastic surface finish. However, on the other side, it's so poorly calibrated that unless or otherwise you click on the extreme right or left corner, clicks do not register, and frankly, it gets very annoying very quickly. The keyboard is a bit of a letdown. So the good stuff here includes the fact that the keycaps are very firm and sturdy and the keys are well labeled. But past that, you'll immediately notice that the typing quality is quite poor. You have a very limited amount of key travel. The actual keystrokes don't feel tactile, but they're also not soft. They just feel uncomfortable after you type for a while. Also, you'll notice there's no backlighting on this keyboard whatsoever, at least for this variation. And the real crime here, however, is the fact that they don't have a 10 key pad. In fact, they have so much wasted plastic space on either corner, they could have easily fit one. It's just an unnecessary design choice. You will be happy to know you do have a dedicated power button that also doubles as a fingerprint scanner. The hinge quality is also pretty good. As long as you don't use it like a barbarian, you'll be happy to know it's relatively sturdy, it doesn't wobble a lot, and it should last for the years to come. Now you have approximately a 86% screen to body ratio, which means you have a relatively thick chin at the bottom with some Huawei branding, but the bezels are actually quite narrow and well within modern day standards. You also have an abnormally thin forehead. The reason for this is because there is no webcam on the top, but fret not. Interestingly enough, the MateBook D15's webcam is actually a secret pop-up button located between the F6 and the F7 key. When you press it, a camera pops up. It's quite cool. Now, as far as the quality is concerned, it's decent. It does well in daylight settings, not so well in darker settings. Also, the fact that it's at the bottom makes it quite awkward because you see more of your chin than your actual face. That is a bit of a con to that weird angle. Display quality over here is pretty mediocre, but in all fairness, it's really not any worse than the rest of the competition in this price range. So you have a standard full HD 15-inch display here, or resolution of 1080p. You also have a standard 60Hz refresh rate, a high quality IPS panel with great viewing angles, and no PWM flickering whatsoever. Additionally, you have a matte and anti-glare display. So far things sound pretty good, right? Well, here's where things start declining. So you only have a color accuracy of approximately 60% sRGB, which means colors look relatively washed out. If you are doing anything that requires a high degree of color accuracy, this probably isn't the right display for you, but it'll be fine for most other day-to-day activities. Now, the real crime here again appears to be the fact that you only have a peak brightness of 250 nits, which should be enough for most indoor settings, but you can't use this thing in bright outdoor settings. The sheer amount of glare makes it very difficult to look at the display, unfortunately. Performance on here was pretty impressive for the most part, given you only have 8GB of RAM and an i5 processor. So day-to-day tasks like web browsing or watching videos on the web will work in a seamless fashion, as they should. Even more moderately intensive activities like programming, 3D modeling, or even doing photo editing are all very much viable experiences. You may have the occasional lag, but they work in a very smooth fashion. Even the most extreme of activities like 4K video editing are viable on this device. While not recommended, you will get a fair bit of frame drops, but you can still render 4K footage in a comfortable experience. As far as gaming is concerned, given that this is just a productivity laptop, it's not too shabby. Games like Fortnite, for example, can run at a healthy 40 plus frames per second at medium settings. So again, it's pretty impressive for a casual laptop. Thermals are pretty decent as well. So under unrealistic peak loads, based on benchmark results, we were able to hit an average surface temperature just around 44 degrees Celsius. However, more realistic heavy loads will yield you around 39 degrees Celsius. While this is still relatively warm, it's well within the range of the average we see with these kind of laptops. Now, fan noise is interesting. Fans are very conservative. They don't like to go on very often, but under peak loads, you can get noise levels up to 48 decibels. Again, this is a rare occurrence, but it's pretty loud. Battery life, on the other hand, isn't great, but it's not bad either. So under a real-world use case, you can get up to 8 hours on a single charge doing activities like web browsing, streaming 1080p content, light photo editing, and using these speakers at approximately 40% volume with the screen brightness at 50%. However, you will be very disappointed with the speaker quality on here because the minute you go past 50%, there is a fair bit of distortion, there's no personality, and you can tell that the speakers were a clear afterthought. Have a quick listen for yourself.
Strive to be a better man, and I will die following my every plan, and you'll slowly fade away with time. I'm sick of all these thoughts that are stuck in my head. I'm sick of wishing I could just forgive and forget. I'm sick of all these thoughts that are stuck in my mind, my mind, my mind. I'm sick of all these thoughts that are stuck in my head. I'm sick of wishing
As far as pricing is concerned, given the fact that I couldn't locate an official retail price in the US, probably because it's not actively being sold there, for, well, somewhat obvious reasons. But here in Canada, it goes for approximately $1,100. Now, at that price point, this is well within the mid-range category, and you kind of get a balance of things, but it doesn't really stand out. So for example, you get great build quality, you have a mix of plastic and metal materials, it's sturdy. You also have a high quality trackpad, a generous amount of palm rest space, and you also have a great webcam, even if it's slightly awkward in its positioning. Now, the real highlight here is the great performance you get with this laptop, which is definitely above average given similar specifications on other machines. Now, on the other side, this laptop sometimes feels like a half measure. For example, the keyboard quality is very lackluster, no backlighting, missing 10 keypad, which totally could have been there, make this laptop feel like an afterthought sometimes. And also the I/O port standards are severely outdated, even if this laptop was released a full year ago. But generally speaking, I still think this laptop isn't bad. I just think it doesn't particularly stand out from the rest of the competition, which just kind of makes it another laptop in the dust. Take it as you will. I will recommend this for anyone who's trying to buy a laptop that's on sale or for back to school or just wants a high quality mid-range laptop. But I wouldn't recommend this if you are trying to go for a laptop that excels in any one particular category, as it's pretty average all around. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know what you think of this laptop. And if you are interested in buying it, I will leave a purchase link in the video description below. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. It genuinely helps us grow. Catch you in the next one.